Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars video. Today's will be a bit rambly, but with the Acolyte coming out and tying in, honestly, more than I expected with the High Republic, I thought it would be a fun time to look back at some of the other major publishing projects of Star Wars, and in particular, the new Jedi Order. Regarding the Acolyte, though, I gotta admit, before the show released, I definitely thought any tie-in to the High Republic era would be more coincidental than anything else. My thought, and this is honestly based on past experience, was that the people making the movies and the shows don't care a whole lot about the books, but we've seen everything from main characters like Vernestra Rwoh brought directly into live action to the aesthetics of the High Republic being employed basically whenever the opportunity arises, whether in the garb of the Jedi to ships like the new Vector variant we've seen. I've got to be honest, and I said this before, but for me, as an era, the High Republic has not quite hit. The Acolyte may change that, but when it comes to the books, I haven't really been grabbed. What I do appreciate, however, is the commitment to tying the era together across different types of media. We've got books, comics, TV shows, we've had video game tie-ins with, for example, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, directly referencing the High Republic. There has just been a coordinated effort across Lucasfilm to support the work of the authors, which honestly have set the base for the era. And that's really cool, and had me thinking back to Star Wars Legends and the missed opportunities, really. And I thought of this especially when reading the Star Wars Invasion comics as a part of my podcast, Tapcaf Transmissions. For those who don't know, Star Wars Invasions was one of the few tie-ins to a massive part of Star Wars Legends, the New Jedi Order. The New Jedi Order was a massive publishing effort by Star Wars to create basically a new era of storytelling. So I compare it in that way to the High Republic. The main difference was that the New Jedi Order wasn't jumping ahead or back in the timeline, rather it was continuing the story of Star Wars Legends. You know, there was a jump of a few years, but the New Jedi Order still stars Luke, Leia, the Solo children. You get the idea. It was actually a major shift in storytelling as well, as the rights for novel publishing moved from Bantam to Del Rey. The early era of Star Wars Legends focused on many small story arcs, often single novels or trilogies like the Jedi Academy trilogy, which did build on each other but were still largely independent. The New Jedi Order, which again was an effort by Del Rey, was meant to be a long arc which told a cohesive storyline over several years. And to be honest, that's what we'd get. The New Jedi Order was 19 novels released between late 1999 to late 2003. And this was different than what we got with Bantam because these 19 novels had a carefully managed continuity, an overarching storyline managed by Lucasfilm, and for a lot of people, it worked really well. Now, the New Jedi Order was about the Yuuzhan Vong invasion, and the Yuuzhan Vong themselves were a somewhat controversial addition to Star Wars. They were aliens from another galaxy, cut off from the Force. Generally, they were a bit, I don't know what the word is, edgy, like they worshipped pain, their weapons were snakes. There's a lot of sort of silly stuff, but I personally enjoy the New Jedi Order. And what was cool most of all is that the New Jedi Order plucked characters, storylines, just overall elements from the previous Bantam era and incorporated it into this new cohesive storyline. So it was really cool to see characters like Thraken Sal Solo or Gariel Captason sort of return from the forgotten times. However, for all the New Jedi Order did from a storytelling perspective, it really failed to move beyond just novels. Aside from a few short stories, Star Wars Invasion is, for all intents and purposes, the only bit of Star Wars media outside of the New Jedi Order novels which is directly set in the era. And that's insane considering it was like 3 to 4 years of storytelling. Now, keep in mind, this was also 3 to 4 years of storytelling, which occurred as the Star Wars prequels were beginning to release. So maybe that's why Lucasfilm and publishing departments were focused on other things. But to this day, it feels like a massive missed opportunity. Star Wars Invasion, in fact, actually came out in 2009, so way after the books were releasing. But to this day, it remains the single greatest source of images for the Yuuzhan Vong War. And when you read Star Wars Invasion, even just the first arc, the refugee arc, you see how much potential this era had outside the novels. You see the Yuuzhan Vong invading planets, these massive organic starships, which look so much more terrifying on these comic panels than even most readers would have imagined. The Yuuzhan Vong War shook the Star Wars galaxy to its core. It turned on its head everything that we had come to know. The Imperials versus Rebel dynamic, which had been played out since Return of the Jedi, was thrown away. Everyone was coming together to fight against this existential threat. And that sort of fear and grandiose scale should have been present somewhere outside the novels, and I still think, regardless of what you feel about the Yuuzhan Vong War, that it's a massive shame that we never got the chance to experience these adventures in other mediums. There should have been a Yuuzhan Vong War video game. There should have been more Yuuzhan Vong War comics. I mean, we almost saw the Yuuzhan Vong tie in to the Clone Wars. They had like an indirect mention as well in Knights of the Old Republic, but I just feel sort of jealous for High Republic fans who are seeing their era come to life in all these different mediums, when in the past, we were kind of screwed over. I will say, Star Wars hasn't always been like this, and I think back to the other sort of major publishing eras, the other big multimedia projects. Two come to mind before any other. The first would be Shadows of the Empire. This had the benefit of not releasing during the prequels. It came out in '96, which was sort of a dead era for Star Wars. I remember it really well. But Shadows of the Empire had a video game, it had a 6-issue comic series, as well as a sequel series, and it had a novel. And they all worked together to tell a story that I actually quite like, but unlike the New Jedi Order, it was pretty limited in scale, although it was across all these different mediums. The same is pretty much true with the other example I was thinking of, and that is The Force Unleashed. Like, we saw The Force Unleashed video game alongside comics and novels, but aside from that, really, Star Wars has traditionally started movie or TV show first, then worked its way down. Like, we get the Clone Wars and a million spin-off properties, whether comics, books, board games, whatever else, but they all stem first from the movie, with people working off that to create these sub-stories, and that's great, and I'm so happy those existed because they were such a large part of my childhood. But I also can't help but think, what if the New Jedi Order had released today? What would the, movie tie-ins or show tie-ins or even comic tie-ins have looked like? Would we have had a New Jedi Order video game? One of my biggest issues with the New Jedi Order is the complete absence of one of my favorite Legends characters, Kyle Katarn. In this era, he's a Jedi, and he appears really prominently in Legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi, but in the New Jedi Order, he's basically gone. That wouldn't happen today, and it's just something that I think about a lot. Anyway, that's my rambling video. I hope you enjoyed this content. All I've got for you today, though, let me know your thoughts on all this and more down below. Love you guys. Be safe. May the Force be with you. Bye-bye.